Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another ship fitting video for EVE Echoes. Today we're having a look at this rather unusual ship that you see on screen now, the Dragoon Sniper. Yes, another Amar ship. I'm not even sure if Amar ships are actually popular, or if it's just that you guys enjoy watching me squirm, knowing that I'm going to have to build, fit, and play around with another Amar ship. Now, in fairness, we have actually covered the Dragoon Trainer, which is one of the 4 destroyers that you can get from Advanced Tutorial 4. We've already covered that in a separate video, so if that's a ship that you've chosen, or you're interested in the Dragoon Sniper, that's where you would start, and I do recommend watching that video. And we've also covered, back in the final test, the missile sniper ships, that is the Talwar and the Korak Sniper. Again, link should be on in the description and at the top of the screen now for that particular video too. I will actually redo that video soon, I just need to get hold of one of those ships. So if you're selling one dirt cheap, do let me know. Anyway, so the Dragoon Sniper. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to have a look at what drone snipers are, what sniper mode is and how it works, have a look at how I would choose to fit the Dragoon Sniper here, and then for comparison's sake, we'll have a look at its compatriot, the Algos Sniper, just as a way of comparison. Anyway, so if you do enjoy this video or find it useful, let me know by hitting like on it, sub to the channel for all things EVE Echoes, and of course ding that notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live. Let me know what topic you want to see me cover in future, either by commenting down below or finding me on social media, and if you want to go the extra mile to help support this channel, you can do so by joining us on Patreon. Details are on screen now. All that said and done, let's talk about drone snipers. Sniper ships are rather unusual vessels in EVE Echoes. They have a special activatable sniper mode that applies some positive and negative effects to the ship. Now, starting with the negatives, your ship speed will be reduced by 99% when you're in sniper mode. This means you can barely move the darn thing at all. If you are using missiles, then their explosion speed will be reduced by 60%, and your turret tracking speed, if you're using turrets, will be reduced by 60% as well. This means that faster moving targets are harder to hit. Finally, there is an activation time increase to any of your weapons of 100%, meaning if a weapon activated once every 5 seconds, it will only activate once every 10 seconds with sniper mode active. I like to think of this as basically like a real-life sniper looking down the barrel of a gun. Ultimately, while you're looking down that scope, you barely move at all, and you really take time to place that shot. Now, on top of this, the positives, however, are a drone control distance increase of 75%, a missile flight time increase of 100%, and turret optimal and accuracy fall-off ranges increased by 100% as well. Now, if that were just as it were, obviously that's going to halve your DPS. 100% extra activation time is just going to halve your DPS because you're firing the same amount over twice as long. However, there is also a damage increase to every point of damage you do by 50%, which does mean that yes, it's still a net DPS decrease overall with sniper mode active, but firstly, you are at an increased range, which comes with additional safety or the element of surprise if you're trying to gank someone in PvP, and also it means that an individual shot, an individual volley from this will be 50% more damaging. The activation time just means it takes longer for the second shot to come out, and that means damage over time is reduced. But if all you're doing is firing one volley and then like getting out of there, this is a net increase to alpha strike damage. Now, ultimately, that's enough about the snipers themselves. Let's have a look at the Dragoon in specific. Now, if we look at its attributes and fittings page here, you can see that under its fitting profile, it's got 3 drone tubes. Those can launch small drones only, not mediums, only smalls. It has 2 high slots, 3 low slots, 3 mid slots, and 2 of each of the rig types, power grid and mechanical. Its defenses showcase this very much as an armor tank, 1274 on the armor, with only 865 on shields. It's still fairly solid for a destroyer, you know, there's nothing to be sniffed at there, but armor tanking is the way you go if you want to put some kind of actual active or buffer tank onto your ship. Going down, maximum lock targets of 7 is really quite nice. Obviously, you would have to train up your target locking skills in order to actually utilize that to its fullest, but the fact that it can do 7 is really nice. Signature radius of 55 is actually fairly small. That's not, you know, it's fairly small for a destroyer. There are some that are bigger, there are some that are smaller, but it is toward the smaller end of things. A flight velocity of 230 and a warp speed of 4.5 are both also fairly middling stats. Overall, the Dragoon itself is about what you would expect for an Amar destroyer. It's not much better or worse in any way, shape or form than any other destroyer out there. Now, if we look at its trait description, though, things really do start to come into their own here, and you can clearly see what this is meant to do if the title of this video hadn't given you that information already. Now, this has a roll bonus of 12.5% drone velocity, meaning that obviously we're going to be firing at longer ranges, hence the name Sniper. You're going to need those drones to actually travel that distance between your ship and the target that they're attacking. That is where drone velocity comes into effect here, simply because it means you move quicker between your ship and the target and the next target, and so on and so forth. Always a nice thing, because it means that you just got less time for them being shot at before they're orbiting around your opponent's face like a buzzing swarm of mosquitoes, and I love that about drones. Now, if we look at the skill bonuses here, every skill level you have an advanced small drone upgrade gives a 30% increase to drone DPS. That's obviously a 150% increase to drone DPS once that's fully trained. I don't have it fully trained, I've only got it to 4 at the moment, so that's a 120% increase for me, still not to be sniffed at, and a 5% drone velocity increase down there as well. So again, that can be all the way up to 25% for a full 37.5% drone velocity if that's fully trained with the roll bonus active. Then we have Advanced Destroyer Command, which I don't have at all. I've got Destroyer Command to 4. You guys know me, I love my frigates. I'm not going in that far into destroyers yet. I've got too much else to do. Advanced Destroyer Command would increase the range of your Energy Nosferatu and Energy Neutralizer by 7.5% per level, so again, 37.5% increase. That's still not huge, and if you're in sniper mode, it's not really going to help, but we'll come back to that later, because this ship isn't exclusively about sniper mode. There are a couple of different ways that you can fit this. Now, of course, the first fit that I'm going to showcase is leaning heavily into the concept of the sniper fit. Interestingly enough, even if you were to completely ignore the fact that this ship has a sniper mode, it is still a flat upgrade over the standard Dragoon. That's because it does everything that the Dragoon does, plus it has a little bit extra on it. That said, it is a very minor upgrade, and it does cost an awful lot more. So I kind of have to assume that if you've gone for the Dragoon Sniper, it's because you are at least somewhat interested in what that sniper mode can do. As such, the first build we've got here lies heavily into that sniper mode and goes for a kiting build. Now, if we look at the Dragoon Sniper's stat sheet again, you'll see that there is nothing in its bonuses and skills here that suggest what we might want to put into those top slots. As such, even though it's an Amar ship, there's nothing to suggest it should be lasers. Ultimately, I've actually got the same level skills in both small laser operation and upgrade and small missile operation and upgrade, and it actually works out better to fit the Dragoon Sniper with missiles if going for the kiting build. As such here, I've gone for 2 Gallows small missile launchers, 28.23 DPS apiece, 21.05 kilometers range as standard. That doubles to over 40 kilometers when sniper mode is active. Now, sniper mode as well will push my drones up to about that 40 kilometer mark, and that's ultimately why I've gone for the missiles here rather than the lasers. If I go for the lasers, even if I'm using nice long-ranged beam lasers, they don't quite reach that 40 kilometer mark. I think they actually come to about 36, 37 kilometers, which does shorten the sniper range overall, and it's just not as effective. You deal more damage using the missiles here, even without having proper missile skills. Ultimately then, because this is a sniping build, the mid slots that I've gone for are Mark V stasis weaponifiers. Obviously, the better of these you can get, the better. Ultimately, what changes between a stasis weaponifier, other than the flight velocity adjustment, is the optimal range. The aim here is that if something does happen to get close, I can web it while I micro warp drive away. It slows it down while I move to a safer distance. It's just about helping me control that range a little bit better. And by having 2 webs, it means if something does get up close and personal, I can web it there down to about 24% of its maximum speed, and I can then switch off sniper mode, just let the drones do their thing, and pound them with the missiles or run away to safety depending on the situation. Now, because of this, in the low slots here, you'll see I've gone for a micro warp drive. Micro warp drive just allows me to control my range very quickly. If I'm too far away, I can close the gap very speedily, and if I am too close and I want to pull away, I can do that at an astonishing pace as well to avoid getting caught out of position. The other 2 low slots here are an Imperial Navy drone damage amplifier, and unfortunately I couldn't get 2 of those, so it's only a BAT drone damage amplifier, but either way, it's 2 drone damage amplifiers just to increase the damage that my drones are doing here. Obviously, if you've gone for a Dragoon, I'm guessing that you are skilled mainly into your drones, so you'd want to lean on things that increase their damage more than the missiles. Go with what you're already skilling. If it turns out that in this case, you can see here, the missiles are doing 56.46 DPS, the drones are doing 122.43, you want to lean into the drones. That means for the low slots here, what I've gone for is a drone speed augmenter, so that we get that activation time adjustment. That again just means they fire that little bit faster, it's a DPS increase. And for the second slot, a drone firepower augmenter for flat up drone damage. Now yeah, these are both prototype rigs. Again, I don't always have enough money to pay for rigs. These are just the free ones you get from the daily login rewards, but they're better than nothing, and nothing is sadly what I have in the mechanical rigs. For mechanical rigs here, ultimately, I would look at things like your scan resolution so you can lock on a bit faster, possibly a flight time increase with things like the auxiliary thrusters so that you can pull away that little bit faster if something gets up close and personal. Perhaps a capacitor manager or something like that. Ultimately, those are what I would go for, just something that allows you to move a little bit faster. The mechanical rigs aren't overly important on this one. Now you'll notice that I haven't gone for any form of tank here, because I don't intend to get hit. I intend to be sitting at a far enough range that damage incoming is not something I'm overly concerned about, and that's the point here. You pull out into combat, you activate that sniper mode, and you start to hit. So I'm actually going to undock, and I'm going to showcase this in space, how far it can do when everything is all activated there. Now even though I'm just outside the station, ultimately I can still demonstrate everything I wanted to. Here you can see that with the micro warp drive active, I do have a speed of over 1,000 meters per second. Ultimately, that's nothing to do, it's not going to help me speed tank or anything, since the micro warp drive also increases my signature radius, but it does allow me to reposition quite quickly. I'm going to switch that off for the time being. So again, if we look at the fittings for now, you'll see that here I've got a 24 kilometer drone range. We know that the missile range again is about 20 kilometers, 21.05, and we've got a total DPS of 178.89. Now, if I activate sniper mode, you'll see all of those little stats come up in the right-hand side of the screen there, and if I jump back into the fitting menu to compare now, my DPS has gone down, but my drone control range has gone to 39 kilometers. Ultimately, once I get drone trained up to skill level 5, that'll be 40 kilometers. It's just, again, me lacking the skills. If I then go into the missiles, you'll see these have now increased to nearly 42 kilometers. Ultimately, what I'm aiming at there is a distance of around 40 kilometers that I can be active doing that damage. Yes, it is a DPS down overall, but again, that is based on damage per second. If you're just hitting in a single volley, if there's 3 or 4 of you doing something like a gate camp in nullsec, then you can hit pretty hard with that first shot. And with the speed that the drones move in, thanks to the drone velocity upgrade, both from the roll bonus and advanced small drone bonus, they will get there fairly quickly, about the speed that a missile can hit at, in fairness, which is actually quite astonishing. Now on top of that, obviously I've still got those 2 drone damage amplifiers. Oh, I need to stack that as well, because otherwise my little OCD is going to trigger there. If I activate both of the drone damage amplifiers and go back into the fitting, you'll see that now that has increased all the way up to 160 DPS across the board there, so it's an even bigger hit. If I'm not in sniper mode, if for example something gets up close and personal, I can then activate those and I actually shoot all the way over 244 DPS, but now I'm only at a maximum range of 21.05 because that is the higher DPS, the lower range between my missiles and my drones. The point here then is that ultimately you manage your distance. If you think you can kill something before it can kill you, then you can switch off sniper mode, add on those drone damage amplifiers and hit them hard and fast at close range, or you can just hit the micro warp drive and boost the ever-living heck out of there. You then reactivate your sniper mode once you're at range, and then start hitting again from the 40 kilometers whilst they drift closer. Once they hit about 20 kilometers again, you deactivate the sniper mode so that you can move, activate your micro warp drive, and zip away to safety. And you just repeat that over and over and over again. I mentioned earlier on that the Dragoon Sniper is a flat-out upgrade over the standard Dragoon, even if you don't include the fact that it has the sniper mode. And that is technically true. If you look at the Dragoon stats and compare them to the Dragoon Sniper, the Sniper does have a higher defense, a larger power grid and capacitor, and has a 3rd mid-slot. Now, speaking of mid-slots, the Dragoon, as you've seen, does have a bonus to Energy Nosferatu optimal range and Energy Neutralizer optimal range. This is for training Advanced Destroyer Command. Now, I personally haven't trained this skill, but I have done the math. Now, if you have a look there, that's 37.5% if you have those trained at full level 5, and an Energy Nosferatu and the neutralizer both have an optimal range of 4 and an accuracy fall-off of 2 kilometers. Now, if you take that 37.5% increase as shown through the skills, add that onto the 4 kilometer range, that gives a total optimal range of 5.5 kilometers. Forgive me if I don't lose sleep over how awesome that is, because it's 1.5 kilometers. It's really not much at all. Ultimately, this means that yes, the Dragoon Sniper can be used in a brawling capacity. If you're willing to stay in at that sort of 5.5 to 7.5 kilometer range, then 100% it is viable to do that. And with 3 mid slots, yeah, the Dragoon Sniper is technically better than the Dragoon at that. However, you'll see that you do have to sacrifice some of the DPS in order to fit for this. Obviously, because we're going to be brawling at a close range, we don't want to make our signature radius any larger than it already is, so we've swapped out the micro warp drive for a small afterburner. The second drone, the drone damage amplifier, has been swapped out for a Mark V small armor repairer, just so that we can tank and survive that little bit longer in combat. Now, of course, because we're going to be within about the 5 kilometer range, there's no point having the long-range missiles. Instead, we go for Republic Fleet small torpedo launchers. Here, 5.5 kilometers, 5.05 kilometers is not a problem at all. It's about where we want to be anyway, because of where the energy Nosferatu is. So that's what you'd fit in there for the brawl. And the rigs this time around, you could rig into some of the standard weapon damage, but again, I would keep them the same of drone damage and drone activation time. For those mid slots, again, I've gone for the Nosferatu and the neutralizer there, because those are what we get the bonus to, and that does allow us to shut down our opponent's capacitor really quite effectively. That third mid slot is entirely up to you. I've gone for a stasis webifier here because it was easy and it was what was on hand, but you could go for a second Nosferatu if you want to really sort of make sure that your power grid, your capacitor stays stable. You could go for a second neutralizer to really impact their capacitor. You can even go for a warp disruptor in order to hold them into position while you nuke them if you want to go for sort of a PvP brawling build. To me though, going for this kind of build does kind of defeat the purpose if you're going for a sniper in the first place. If you're going for the brawler build, you may as well wait for the Dragoon Assault once we hit Tech 7. Now, it only seems fair that if we're going to talk about the Dragoon Sniper, we also talk about the Algos Sniper, which is kind of its sister ship, but in the Gallente Federation ship tree. If you have a look at the attributes and fittings here, you'll see that the fitting profile is absolutely identical. 3 drone tubes, all of which can only launch small drones, 2 high slots, 3 mids, 3 lows, and 2 of each of the rig types. Defenses, again, you can see it's about similar on the defense, but there's a little bit more shield and a little less armor this time. Still an armor tank, but there's a little bit more shield to pad you on the way down. Still 7 locked targets, slightly larger signature radius this time of 58.4, which means it is slightly easier to hit, and a slightly slower flight velocity, only 6 meters per second, though for crying out loud, it's really not much. Same warp speed. But if we have a look at the roll bonuses here, you'll see that these are pretty much the same. Exact same roll bonus, 12.5% drone velocity, same advanced small drone upgrade bonus, 30% drone DPS and 5% drone EHP, but advanced destroyer command does change things up a little bit. This time around, we have an energy neutralizer optimal range, as with the Dragoon, but we get a warp disruptor optimal range instead of energy Nosferatu. What this means is that the Algos Sniper is arguably slightly better for PvP, as you can lock people down with that extra 37.5% range to the warp disruptor. If you've got a warp disruptor that's got, say, a 20 kilometer range, that's an extra 37.5% increase onto that, which takes you up to, what, 26 kilometers, I think that works out as in by my terrible maths, 26, 27 kilometers away, which means you can actually lock people down from a lot further away and stop them warping off. Makes it slightly better for like a PvP pilot. Ultimately though, how you'd fit this, as far as I'm concerned, would be exactly the same as I've shown for the Dragoon Sniper. Use missiles for those high slots. There is no reason to go for railguns. Don't just go railguns because it's a Gallente ship. Missiles are going to be better as long as you've got a similar amount of skills. Obviously, if you're skilled out the wazoo for railguns and you've got no skills at all in missiles, then yes, then go for the railguns. But assuming that your railgun and your missile skills are similar, go for the missiles. And if you're trying to work out what you should train, go for the missiles. And there we have it. Everything that I wanted to tell you guys about fitting the Dragoon Sniper, plus we've had a little bit of a bonus look at the Algos Sniper 2. Basically, I'm hoping that you've come away from this video with a bit of an understanding about how drone snipers work, what they do, and maybe how to fit one. If you're looking at that DPS stat and thinking that's a little bit disappointing compared to where some of the other ships are, do remember that of course this is based on Mark V drones. Currently, Mark V drones are the best drones that we can actually equip to a ship and use. Mark 7 drones are a couple of weeks out, Mark 9 drones are somewhere beyond that, and well, the faction drones, who knows, hopefully coming soon, because boy could drones really use them. I know the developers have said as well that in one of their upcoming balance patches they are looking to quote, address the problem of drones. Don't entirely know what that means, but we'll see. Hopefully it means that they're going to be a little bit more prevalent, the blueprint's going to be more readily available, and perhaps a slight tweaking to the drone's damage stats, because I do feel that they could just use a little something right now. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, folks, if you're using something like the Dragoon Sniper or the Algos Sniper, let me know what your thoughts and opinions on this ship are. It's an unusual looking ship. I mean, as far as a Mars ship goes, that red is really quite handsome. Still can't say I like the gold detailing all that much, and it does look a little bit like a shoebox, but there we go. It's not a horrifically ugly ship, just looks a little bit clunky. Between the two, I personally prefer the Algos, but there we are. Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Otherwise, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.